Welcome back again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Well, Felix Cash, he got out of jail, didn't he? Because he won a unanimous decision over Magomed Madiev of Russia. But weird scorecards. Two of the judges had it the same as me, 95-92. Sounds a bit weird. In other words, we gave 2 rounds to Madiev and 8 to Felix Cash, but the 2 rounds that Cash lost, he lost them big, and he was lucky to survive right at the end of this fight. So let's before we talk about the fight itself, let's talk about the fighters. Magomed Madiev came in with a record of 15 wins, no defeats and 2 draws, and he'd cut his teeth in Russia fighting local guys. You know, decent record, some of these opponents. He beat a couple of, in his last fight, he beat an undefeated fighter called Maxim Voshkov, who I'm not familiar with, but won a majority decision over him. 2 draws, again, were against, decent men. One of those draws was a split draw over a guy with a 25-5-1 record. So looking at statistically anyway, looking at the opponents, although I'm not familiar with a lot of these Russian fighters, Madiev had learnt his trade. And Cash we know a little bit about, we're familiar with him. He had a terrific win over Denzel Bentley. Some of us predicted Bentley would win that. I was one of them. Got that wrong. Cash stopped him in 3 rounds. And he came into the fight 14-0, so difference was, I think Cash had in 14 undefeated record, 14 wins. He had 10 knockouts. Whereas Madiev had only 4 stoppages in 15 wins. So the power, you think, would be with Cash. Well, the fight started, and in the first round, we know that Cash, you may have read or heard that Cash had some personal problems. He's been out of the ring, and it kind of showed, the commentators on DAZN, Andy Lee, excellent commentator. He made a remark, look, there's a lot of nervous energy there. Maybe it's the fact that Felix has been out of the ring for quite a while. But he was throwing a lot of punches. It was a real river of punches. They just kept coming. And a lot of that nervous energy, kind of a little bit reminiscent of how Amir Khan often fights. But, technically very good punches. Madiev, on the other hand, looked incredibly sort of quietly relaxed, quietly confident, and it was very striking how he was, even though all these punches were coming his way, didn't look remotely perturbed. And in fact, I think about 2 minutes into the first round, he landed an excellent left hook to the body, really good left hook. One of those punches that makes you go, whoa, gets your attention, just that individual punch. But he looked like he was having a look at Cash. You got the feeling there was a little bit of a storm brewing. In the second round, Cash picks up where he left off. Again, lots and lots of punches, using his feet well and all. But suddenly, Magomed Madiev unleashes a hellacious left hook, which perfectly timed. Again, an individual punch. It wasn't part of a combination. Lands slap bang on Cash's jaw, and over he goes. It wasn't that he was stunned or anything. It was just the sheer force of the punch almost pushed him onto his side, and he touched down with the glove. He was on the floor, gets up, and he is shaken. He knows where he is, but he's shaken. It's almost like, wow, what was that? What hit me? One of those. Individual punches can be like that. You're like, oh my God, where'd that come from? I didn't see that one coming. And of course, they're the punches that hurt you, the ones you don't see coming. And then the rest of that second round was hell on earth for Felix Cash. Madiev battered him from pillar to post. Although right at the very end, Cash did land his own punch, which was pretty decent. And then, from rounds 3 to rounds 9, even though he was bleeding from the mouth, even though he was cut, Cash was more or less in control. He was having to work for every round, having to move his fists constantly, move his feet constantly. But he was containing Madiev, and the jabs were bothering Madiev. Madiev, it was almost like he had too much success in that second round. And when he couldn't get rid of his man, he was just looking for that one big punch. And that's a very familiar mistake that a lot of fighters make. They go looking for that one big bop, and they switch off and they're outboxed. And so it was with Madiev. He was outboxed from rounds 3 to 9. In the 10th round, it's almost like he suddenly woke up and thought, hang on a minute, blimey. It's like the tortoise and the hare. You know, the hare falls asleep, the tortoise creeps past him, is nearly at the finishing line. The hare wakes up and thinks, Jesus Christ, I'm losing this. And then rushes for the finishing line. And this is what it was like with Madiev. And he tore out after Cash. Tore out of the corner, ran across the ring. I mean, he was running. Put the heat on Cash from the opening seconds. Lands another, was it a left hook? I think it was a left hook. But it was more of a clipping punch, and it knocked Cash back onto the ropes. The ropes prevented him from going down. The ref steps in, a second count. And when Cash looks, really perturbed, and there's a lot of blood streaming from that cut. The cut has worsened down the left-hand side of Cash's face. A lot of blood coming out. And again, after that knockdown, across the ring runs Madiev, battering him from pillar to post. Cash hanging on for dear life. The old commentator Reg Guttridge from the 70s, who some of us remember, he always used to describe a fighter like that as being a sailor hanging onto the mast of the ship in a storm, and that's exactly what it was like. And he hung on too much, Cash, because the referee stepped in, took a point off him, could well have been justified in taking a second point off him, but didn't. But that was definitely a 10-7 round with the point off, 10-7 round for Magomed Madiev. But Cash hung on, and he lost the second round 10-8, the 10th round 10-7, hence the 95 tally on two of the cards. I agreed with that tally. 95-92 was my scorecard. But he won the rest of the fight. He won the other 8 rounds. But you won't see a guy in a fight where he wins 8 out of 10 rounds and looks so busted up at the end of it. It was a good fight, entertaining fight, kind of one-sided for most of it. And yet the guy who was winning that one-sided fight ended up busted up. But tomorrow morning, Magomed Madiev will wake up and think, if only I'd done more. If only I'd done so much more. He lost his unbeaten record. Both guys, they're a credit to themselves, I suppose. But Madiev is the one who's going to think, I let it slip through my fingers. But there we are. It was a good fight. Good fight. Cash, he'll now have a big question mark over his head. But it's just up to him to get back in the gym and learn from the mistakes he made. I mean, he didn't really make that many mistakes in the fight. Just don't get walloped with fantastic left hooks. Madiev is the one who's going to think, I've got a lot to work on here. He's going to look at that fight and think, Christ, I grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory, which he did. But he's got to be busier, and he must not slip into that one punch. He mustn't fall in love with his own power. He's only got four KOs out of 15 wins. Who would have believed he'd have put Cash in so much trouble? But he did, and he's going to have to work on his boxing, I guess. Work on being busier, work on varying it more, jabbing. The basics. But anyway, did you see the fight? If so, what did you think? It was kind of exciting, weird sort of fight, but kind of exciting. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and if you're new to this channel, you could subscribe. That would be great. It's free. Just hit that subscribe button for me. Maybe the like button if you like this video. And we'll chat again sometime soon. Thank you for your time, as always. And I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye for now.